Listen to me carefully because I am fully convinced that my theory about why Turning Point USA is doing what they're doing is true. And this is my theory. And Andrew Kolvet going on Fox News discussing the decline from St. John's, not allowing them to come into their school as a private school, gave the whole story away. And it fits right into the puzzle that I've been putting together. Everything that I've been trying to figure out makes complete sense. So when you watch this video all the way through, you'll understand exactly why they're doing the things they're doing. And it's important that you listen carefully because there are so many moving parts and so many people invested into this situation that it has to go through. That's why Charlie Kirk knew that if he wasn't going to get Trump elected and be a big part of that and get all of these students on board, he was going to prison because of the alleged financial fraud that's been uncovered through so many other people besides myself and Wolves of Finance, through so many different people that have come into the organization and pushed Bill Montgomery out. When Erika Kirk had come into Charlie's life, you've gone from $250,000 max all the way up until 2018 in salary to tripling, quadrupling that salary. And not only that, all the people like Andrew Kolvet, like Tyler Bowyer, you have Mikey McCoy, you've got all the people around them, all the military personnel. Don't you think that's strange? You've had Peter Thiel go and speak at a Turning Point event. You've had JD Vance speaking at Turning Point events. You have Trump making best friends with him until the day he dies. And then the next day he's at Yankee Stadium celebrating. Why do you think that is? I'll tell you why. In my opinion, what Turning Point USA has done is become the focal center point for the one world surveillance apparatus built by AI algorithmic data harvesting that allows them to push out a complete surveillance state. And it starts with Make Heaven Crowded Tour. With NDAA, they are legally able to fly drones over civilians and capture data, not limited to geofencing, geomapping. When you go home, they'll be able to track you where you go. They're going to be able to tag other people's phones. If you have your Bluetooth on, your phone sharing on, your Wi-Fi on, anybody around you, your digital signature, everything that you do online. If you think about this, why would they not want St. John's, a private school that apparently doesn't go by the values that they want them to go by? You think that it's just because they want to preach what exactly? Because Turning Point USA is a political activist educational platform that's supposed to teach people about American values. But instead, they're mixing church and state, okay? That's not how this is supposed to work. Not only that, you have a pastor like John Caramuccio or whatever his name is on this Turning Point education board or whatever, right? And part of this program. You also have Scott Bessent, who is there to help protect the finances from the IRS's side of the Department of Treasury for Turning Point USA and related entities, as we have obviously seen. So let me map this all together. You've got the Farnsworth family. You've got Hoffman. The Farnsworth are valuable because they've got lots of people in the political landscape in different aspects from law to finance, all right? And then they're able to help get all of these pieces put together. Hoffman with his digital media empire and these bots and farms and digital data that they're able to compile, starting all the way back when Rally Forge was just submitting their work efforts and getting banned from Facebook. And they're actually harvesting data. This is what I think. They're harvesting data from the reactions of the people that are using these methods. Okay, so anytime, for example, why would you have they're literally mandating it and making it a criminal offense in order to make schools actually take in Turning Point. And the biggest thing, like I said before, that gave away this to me, that made me confirm what I was saying is right, is because why wouldn't they just say, you know what, go look at the map. Actually, I want you to go look at the Turning Point map and see how many chapters they actually have across the country. So why wouldn't Andrew Kolvet and the Turning Point team just say, you know what, we've got tens of thousands of chapters between high schools and colleges. Let's just leave St. John's alone. The reason why is because they have to get every single school so that they can capture all of the data, so every single person that's going through the school can be captured from high school all the way up through college and get facial recognition, data signatures. They're able to actually compile all of that data and run it through algorithmic interfaces that allow them to predict how these people are going to act long term, the emotional reaction to negatives and positive consequences that happen in their lives, all of the things that you would predict, that you need to predict. So if something good happens, they can predict how people are going to react. If something bad happens, they can predict how things are going to react, how people are going to react. So you have all of these political principles that are involved in this apparatus that has to be implemented. And you have to be a fool to believe that we're not going to head towards a one world government surveillance state. It's already being rolled out in other foreign countries, and either they have to do it here first on our land before somebody else tries to do it, like China or some other country, Russia or some other country. Now, think about it like this. If you are a high school student, and at first, maybe it just starts with chapters at the school for Turning Point, and you have to scan a QR code or maybe download an app. But that's how they get into your phone as a young student, 9th grade. And what about those schools that have K through 12? Because there's a lot of those. Have we looked in to see if there's K through 12 schools that are being implemented with Turning Point? Because if so, then you're talking about Turning Point being involved from kindergarten all the way until 12th grade, and then from 12th grade all the way through college, and then bachelor's, and then master's, and then PhD. So for their entire lives, you have a digital signature harvesting data system that's able to capture all of this information and then run it through an algorithm with millions, tens, hundreds of millions of students who then become adults. And not only that, over time, these systems will be implemented into AI and cameras. In the schools, guess what? They have cameras, facial recognition. You're going to be able to predict what their faces look like when they're mad, when they're happy. If a girl goes and cheats on her boyfriend that's playing football and goes and hooks up with a basketball player or a baseball player in the locker room or in the bathroom, or goes and smokes pot for the first time, measuring their emotional responses when they do stuff like that. They can use all of this data. Not only that, you have the health that's on the phone, on your watch, that can measure your pulse rate. Everything is connected now. Internet of Things has brought everything together. Everything now makes perfect sense. This theory obviously is unverified, but it's substantial. You also have Turning Point working with Show Faith by Works that is registered with FARA, working for working for a foreign government so that nobody can question, working for a foreign government in order to push propaganda down our throats through the religious sector. I've tracked 12 entities that have filed 330 documents for FARA, and they're religious entities, nonprofit organizations through Havas Media, Clocktower LLC. They have paid Turning Point, America's Turning Point has paid Clocktower LLC $999,000 for research, a very vague research. 26 months later, that company did not exist. Then, shortly after, Mr. Pascal, he creates a company called Clocktower X LLC. Well, what's interesting about this person is that he worked hand in hand as an associate with Charlie Kirk for nearly a decade, and guess where he's from? Ohio. So when this Clocktower X LLC is created, guess what they do? They take $9 million from that country that's our greatest ally in the Middle East, and then they file a FARA Act for them actually using AI and SEO to manipulate algorithms so that people will be exposed to whatever they want them to see and be able to change and artificially manipulate all of the things that people digest so that we will be able to take in their bias and have a sentiment that's similar to what they want us to have for them. All right. They took in $9 million. This is just one entity. I've tracked over $150 million for religious and nonprofit educational entities that are FARA registered, and Turning Point USA is related through the Make Heaven Crowded tour through Show Faith by Works. Remember, all of this is just my own theory. But when you add up all of these things and you start to see that you have Lori Frantzve on the board of Superfeed. Also, she spent her life creating algorithms that can detect critical vulnerabilities in systems and in people and in hardware and in software and be able to exploit those vulnerabilities. Doesn't that make sense that they would utilize somebody like her? Why would she be on the board of a tech company with Tyler Bowyer? And why are they building it in Ukraine on generators in the middle of Kiev where there's a war happening? Don't you think that they would want to build with and work with an American company and work and build all of that stuff here in the United States? But they chose not to. Why? Are they hiding that? Do they not want Americans to know what they're building? It's not what they're telling us. I do not believe for 1 second that they just want to educate people and force education into a school that doesn't want them there. And the biggest giveaway is being too greedy and being too out in the open and in your face about it. Why wouldn't they just pass up the just one Catholic school that is already not living the values? I can see like, oh, well, we need to come in there and save the world. Yeah, right. I don't buy that for 1 second. I personally believe that they are, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, they are literally in charge of rolling out a digital signature data AI algorithm harvesting apparatus, and they're going to use that and they're going to build a surveillance state. Charlie Kirk might have known about it and he was probably involved with it. I don't know to what extent, but if you think about why he felt like he was going to go to prison and then was even more blatant about political activism and telling people that he's going to get Trump elected, telling people that they need to vote for Trump, they need to get out and vote. It's a last ditch effort because if they don't get Trump elected, they know they're all going to prison. If they do get Trump elected, then they have another 4 years at minimum to build the most intelligent system the face of the earth has ever seen. Think about all of the people that I've mentioned. Again, JD Vance, Peter Thiel, Scott Bessent, Donald Trump. I mean, Kash Patel is like this whole investigation doesn't make sense unless you start to realize there's a much bigger picture. You've got 50 CFR 22 Eagle permits on land so that the FAA through FCC waivers are not capable of being able to moderate and see what's happening on these plots of land. You've got SkyFoundry that is working with the NDAA to get implemented to require 1 million drones built every single year. There's a reason for this, all right? Where are you going to test these drones? Look at Eric Schmidt, the ex-Google CEO. Look at what he is doing now for a living. He didn't just retire when he left Google. He left Google and spent 4 years legislating for the uncapped ability to grow AI and systems and AI drone systems. And he literally lobbied for it and paid, like, there's all this money going in all these places. There's too many people invested. And that's why Charlie Kirk had to get people like Trump and like Vance in office to buy more time. And then if you think about it, if they take Charlie Kirk out of the equation and then they end up getting, say, whenever Trump is done and they don't get office back for the Republicans and the Democrats get put back in office, then if the Democrats come in after Turning Point USA, all they're going to be able to do is say, hey, we're going to now pick up back Arctic frost and you guys are all going to come into court. And then when they go to court, Tyler Bowyer, Erika Kirk, first of all, Erika Kirk doesn't have to say anything because she was married to the person who was the CEO of the company that they're trying to investigate for fraud or for whatever it is that they're investigating. It's most likely financial malfeasance. That's what I think it is. So then they're going to get to say, well, Charlie Kirk did it. It was his idea. It was Charlie Kirk. It was Charlie Kirk. And then everything is void. It is the perfect setup to roll out not only the surveillance state and go to all of these locations, fly these drones around, capture geofencing data. It came out of Andrew Kolvet's mouth. He said they tracked 277,000 people. Mikey McCoy has said it, and even Erika has said it. So they're literally telling us to our face they are tracking everybody that shows up to their events, whether you know it or not. When you geofence a location, you don't even have to sign anything. That's what the NDAA is special for, is that it allows them to fly these drones that harness AI and digital signature harvesting systems that allow them to capture this data so that they can take it and then wherever you go, whatever you do, they can see that on a GPS. So wherever you're at for the rest of your life, all of this starts to come together. It's a massive picture. They don't want you to know about it. Now, could it be good? It could be used for good, but is that what we want? Is that the system that we want to have implemented into our everyday lives by force? Because Turning Point is now forcing schools that don't want it, forcing public schools by legislation or however they've done this to make it so that the public schools could be found criminally liable if they don't obtain, like in Florida or in Texas or in Arizona. You're telling me that you're going to require a chapter for a conservative activist group? And if not, the school could be found criminally liable? What is that? To me, they are now overstepping into desperation mode, and they are not getting their way with certain places or schools, and that's what's giving it away. And it further confirms all of the things that I thought. You've got the person to literally protect the finances. You've got all the AI and technology people surrounding them. You've got the foreign agencies that are working with religious entities in order to feed down whatever our throats that they want in order to make us believe a certain thing about a certain country. So if it comes down to it, they've got every single aspect covered, from land to technology to the people to tracking all of us from a young age all the way through the rest of our lives, because over time, they're going to roll out facial recognition in all the schools, and they're going to be able to detect thermal energy and see through your body, and they're going to be able to see what's happening from your phone to your watch, and to, like I said before, your health checks. Even AI in some of these softwares, they're like, do you want to track your health? Look, we're not going to be able to get away from it, but you've got to at least be aware of it. Why do you think they're passing all of these laws? AI, 10 years, uncapped, whatever, like nobody can stop it. They're just going to let it go in the name of China. Oh, in the name of China, because China's going to do it. Okay. So then the 1 million drones a year, why? Is that because of China too? And the every school must have a conservative chapter. Well, what about the Democratic chapter? How come they're not doing it? They're not requiring that. So is China only doing conservative? Because I'm pretty sure they're a communist country, right? The CCP. So when you start to look at things in a way that makes you understand, okay, wow, they're actually trying to implement a surveillance state. That's what I think. Interesting. Why would they want to do that? Well, they got all the money that they needed in order to get this implemented. They've got all the people around them and all the principals, the political principals, and all the people on the board. Everyone keeps asking, why is there military people all around Charlie all of a sudden, even down to the pastors? Well, don't you think it makes sense that you would need military personnel with deep CIA ties and history to be able to understand and write some of this logic that will help people that are just tech nerds to understand how some psychological things work so that they can implement this into their systems with AI? And don't you think they would need the AI people to work with that person to kind of gauge and build their systems around that? What about how to understand students? And psychologists would be able to help with that. I mean, if you don't get it by now, I don't know what to tell you. I have a 4-hour live stream that I did with Project Constitution on my page. It's public. I highly encourage you to go watch it. I'll put it in the link right here at the end. If you think I'm crazy, let me know in the comments. If you think I'm right, share this with everyone you know, because we need to share this information. It is beyond important. I believe it. It's my belief. Why wouldn't you just leave St. John's alone unless you needed them? You were desperate to have every single school for every person that crosses that path. It only makes sense to me. If you can explain another reason why, besides whatever Andrew Kolvet's bullshit that came out of his mouth on that Fox interview, looking down at his phone, trying to come up with these, all of the reasons why they're Hippocratic at this school. So you're going to go in and you're going to just change the way all of these students think? No, bro. It's not how it works. Okay? You played your cards too strong, man. I figured it out. Game is done. And I don't know if there's anything we can do about it.